Welcome to In Doug's Garden, brought to you by the Davey Tree Expert Company. I'm your host, Doug Oster, and today we've got a wonderful show for you. We are going to visit a historic Pittsburgh area garden. We're going to answer the age-old question, why doesn't my hydrangea bloom? We'll get a visit from our Davey arborist and much more. Today, though, even though it's midsummer, we're actually going to be planting tomatoes, and we're going to use something called Compost Surprise. Follow me. We're in midsummer. I know that seems very late to plant tomatoes. Our first crop went in early in May, actually mid-May, before I traveled to London. But I love to plant later in the season too, and we talked about it early in the season where we have these warm soil temperatures, warm air temperatures, and when we put a tomato in now, there's enough time to get us to the end of the season where it's going to put on tomatoes. And the number one advantage of doing it this time of the year is we're not going to have to deal with fungal diseases like early blight and septoria leaf spot. Now, Compost Surprise, that's what these tomato plants are. I have no idea what they are. I don't have any idea how they sprouted up down here when the tomatoes are growing up there. I guess it's the birds. So are they eating my tomatoes? I don't know. But we're going to take one of these plants out, put it in a container, and when you're talking containers for a tomato, 15 gallons is the minimum. Bigger is always better. More mass means less watering, and this is pretty simple. We're going to get down in here and get as much of that root ball as we can. I actually have 3 or 4 tomatoes to take out of here, and I'm going to plant it as deep as I can because that stem will all become roots, and that's all we need to do. And it's going to be a great surprise to see what tomato this is. You never know what you're going to get when you get Compost Surprise, and I love my little flowering tobacco. At night, these things smell like magic. All right, all we need to do is put a little water on this. I'm going to actually mulch my containers with straw, and then we'll see what this produces. For the past 5 years, I have enjoyed working with Farm to Table, Buy Fresh, Buy Local. Not only do they connect local farmers with us, they also help underserved communities. And for the past 3 years, we put a vegetable garden in at the Allegheny County Housing Authority's Orchard Park development with the help of Karen Bodowski. And kids from the neighborhood came out to plant, and we had so much fun. Check this out. The tomatoes, they gently tap them out of there. Okay. Just kind of dig down in there. Put that on there, and then put this thing in here too, so that we know what it is, okay? Okay. Simple. Now grab one of the cages and bring the cages in, please. They're right on the outside. It's hard. Wait. I see a problem. Perfect. Good job. I'll put the dirt around it. That's all right. They're tough. Good job.
Just Sarah, look what I'm doing. Planting flowers. I just plant one right there.
Me too.
Okay, well, we'll pick it up and see that time.
Doing okay?
There, let me see. Like right here. And then if it falls, that means you have to use some of that dirt. I know. I'm pouring water.
All the way down. Good, perfect. All right. Good, you got the hang of this.
My name is Titan, Titan, and who invented gardening?
Well, Titan, after all these years, you're the first person to stump me. I have no idea who invented gardening. So I went to the internet, and thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt, ancient China, we have records of irrigation and terracing, all sorts of different gardening techniques. But most importantly, thanks so much for coming out and helping us plant at Orchard Park. We had a lot of fun, didn't we? Now we're going to see another garden, a garden that is steeped in history in Ambridge. Follow me. So tell me, what is this place, Old Economy Village?
So Old Economy Village, right now the historic site, this was previously the location of George Rapp's third colony for the Harmonists. So they were communal socialist communities. So they came in and they were all living as one. This site where we're sitting right now, this was actually basically like George Rapp's backyard, and his home is the beautiful brick mansion essentially behind you where him and Frederick Rapp lived. But then there was outlying people of the community who came with them. Originally they were from Germany, and they all traveled, and they gave him everything that they had in exchange for being provided with everything that they needed. Doctors, fire stations, all the food you want. You got land, you got a house to live in, but you know, the original would you rather, you had to be celibate.
So that meant it was not going to perpetuate.
Well, you could have children. You just had to leave when you did, because that was a little bit of a distraction from the work, because he was into also making a lot of money to achieve his own goals.
How is it that this place is still here?
Probably by the grace of being a state-owned historic site, and by having some people like, you know, we were discussing Pat previously, Pat Liepert, Warren Kinnear, and Mr. Joe Polgini, people who love it so much that they come here and just volunteer. At this point, it's just me and nothing but the volunteers that love this place.
And what are some of the things that people can see and learn about when they come?
So in terms of just even beyond the history, we do have museums inside that are kind of changing a little bit here and there, natural history and whatnot, but from the external side, we do have orchards, we have cider apples, hops, we have a vineyard that's under restoration. I do have my two lovely ladies over on the cobblestone street, Gretchen and Suzanne, who are about 200-year-old grapevines. They claim to be Catalbas, but until I get the gene bypasses ran, they're definitely a little something else. Even the vegetable garden, I have people coming to just learn in general how to grow their own food, because we do a lot of donations to the local men's and women's shelters. Master gardeners come in, they help mentor and teach. It can be just about anything that you want. I mean, if you want to talk soil science, bioremediation practices, if you want to learn about local history of the man that I refer to as the agricultural gangster.
So what would you say to somebody who came here for school but haven't been back? Why should they come?
Because things have changed. I think that there was a very long period of time where this place was stagnant. And with that stagnation, obviously, there is no reason to return, but now there has been such a big change and a big turnover and new ways to engage people that they haven't practiced before, because it's more than just a historic site. It's a place and a platform to discuss the history, the local legends, and then also current world issues like pollution from the steel mill industry, looking at issues with being near the railroad tracks, just looking at sustainability.
And discuss the importance of landscape and gardening here at Old Economy.
So George Rapp had a reason to do just about everything. So he had things laid out in a very specific manner, lots of religious symbolism. He also, of course, was very much so into making wine. So he had his paradise section. He had his own vineyard. He had the wilderness with our grotto. And then he had another section that is pretty much still the wilderness at this point, and we let that be. I mean, everything had a reason and a place and a purpose. Medicinals, dye plants. His landscape was multi-purpose, multifaceted, but also deep in just symbolic imagery.
What is your role here at Old Economy Village?
Working in the garden, working in some of the other areas that we have here.
And you're a volunteer?
Volunteer.
Why?
I came here on a tour about 15 years ago. Just thought it was a fantastic place and ended up volunteering.
And tell me a little bit about the garden.
Well, the garden that we see behind me was the Rapp House garden, and George Rapp lived in the house here, so this was his go-to whenever he had visitors and guests that come in, that they could come in and get what he needed in order to entertain. He entertained a U.S. president plus foreign dignitaries, and so he had a ready supply of produce, fruits and vegetables.
And did you say there's religious symbolism
There
to
is.
some of the plants? What are some examples?
Okay, one of the plants is costumary that is over in the herb garden, and it has a level of caffeine in it. And I tell them a little funny story that when the harmonists used to go to the church across the street, they would have the leaves of the costumary in their hymnals. So when Father Rapp tended to talk too long, they would sneak a leaf out and pop in their mouth.
What are some of the other things that are meaningful that are growing in the garden?
Okay, well, one of the things that we have in our garden that the harmonists did not have was probably the tomato, because of its reputation as being the poisonous apple. And so I point that out to people. I say, we have it because everybody that walks into a garden expects to see a tomato plant.
Discuss the joy of being in this garden.
Watching the things grow, watching what you plant reach maturity. And the other thing is we have a volunteer by the name of Vita Eli, and she will collect produce that we grow here, and that produce she will distribute to men and women's shelter in and around Beaver County. And last year was approximately 500 pounds of food that she delivered.
And there's a lot of history in this garden too, right?
That's correct. The harmonists would not only weave their own clothes, but they would dye their own clothes. And we've recently started to add a dye garden, which has indigo, weld, and other plants that they used to dye their clothing.
D-Y-E, not D-I-E.
Yeah, not D-I-E. That was later.
What do you hope that people get out of their visit at Old Economy?
I hope people find a reason to be excited about something in the area again, find new things to be interested in, new ways to look at things, and maybe feel like they have a place where they can comfortably come, learn, share, and just be involved. It's something where you can speak to just about every person's heartstrings at some point in some way or another, and maybe they just haven't experienced it yet.
The number one gardening question is, why doesn't my hydrangea bloom? There are lots of varieties that put buds on right after they're done blooming, and then over that winter period they can either be pruned off, they can be eaten by the deer, or they can freeze out. Now with this type of hydrangea, and common name is smooth hydrangea, this one is called white dome, and it is a reliable bloomer as long as you can keep the deer off it, which I'm spraying it with Bob-X every few weeks. This is a pollinator magnet. It is easy to grow. It is absolutely beautiful. Now we're not going to get pink, we're not going to get blue, it's just these beautiful white flowers. I have one more from the same family to show you that does put on beautiful pink flowers. Well, here's another hydrangea from the same family, smooth hydrangea. The thing about this type of hydrangea is it's blooming on this year's growth, and so we don't have to worry about those buds that are sitting there all winter. There's never been a tougher hydrangea than this. It's called Invincible Spirit. Gives you these beautiful pink flowers. It will bloom just about anywhere, and portions of the proceeds go to breast cancer research, which is a great thing. Now it's time for Talking Trees from the Davey Tree Expert Company. I'm joined again by Rob Kruljac. He is an assistant district manager at the North Pittsburgh office of the Davey Tree Expert Company. And Rob, here we are again by another flowering crabapple.
Yeah, you have a couple of these.
This
here.
is a different one. This was actually dug up from the other one, and
oh, really?
Yeah, and it actually made it, but it doesn't have many leaves on it.
No, it seems to defoliate, right?
Yes, every year.
Yeah, it's apple scab.
Oh.
So it's a leaf disease fungus that defoliates the tree through the summer months.
So what do I do?
We got to treat it early in the spring.
Yeah, the ship has sailed, right?
Correct,
There's
yeah.
nothing we can do now.
Not this point.
But it looks like it's dying when you look at this with the leaves falling, but it comes back.
Right, it will come back. The nice thing about some leaf diseases, they will stress the tree, but the tree loses the leaves and gets new ones the next year. So first thing next year, right when it leaves out, right? correct, yeah,
Okay.
bud break.
I guessed that right.
Good job.
What about fertilization? Would that help, or does that make any difference?
It will make a difference. Every tree plant has its own immune system, if you will. So the healthy tree in the right environment, can ward off a lot of this stuff on its own. But the spray, killing the fungicide using that is really what will take care of it.
So early in the season, we looked at another flowering crab. This one's daddy or mommy, I don't know, and it doesn't look good. When I do replace that tree, and I want another flowering crab, will a new one fight off the disease better if I pick the right one?
Not necessarily.
Oh,
not necessarily.
all right.
Yeah,
So still treating.
There's some cultural things you can do, keeping the leaves cleaned up because the spores will come back up out
Wait a minute.
What?
You were always telling me I don't have to rake up my leaves in the forest here because it's good for the trees. Now I have to?
It'd be quite difficult in this type of setting, but yeah, it
But
would
for
help.
this guy,
yeah, or
try and
someone in their lawn in the
Right.
front yard, yes, keeping the leaves cleaned up that have the fungus on them, destroying them, getting rid of them. That will kind of help for the next season.
Even though flowering crabs have this issue, still recommend planting them?
Yes.
All right,
I
good.
do. 'Cause it's not guaranteed. I mean, there's plenty of crabs out there that aren't treated that still carry their leaves throughout the year.
I mean, this one, even though it does drop its leaves, both of them keep coming back and flowering every spring. But
Right.
next year, I promise, though, I'm going to get it treated.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Doug.
For more information about everything we talked about today, go to DougOster.com. Lots of cool gardening stuff there, videos and stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can also ask a garden question there. Until next week, keep planting, and we will see you then.